Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Morris. I'm a member of the ABPMP International Board of Directors, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all to our session today. The session title is The Process of Process Management, Strategy Execution in a Digital World. Okay, hopefully I won't get feedback. I'm getting a little feedback now. Hopefully that'll stop. Okay. For those people who are not yet members of the association, ABPMP is the largest international professional BPM association in the world. We have chapters in over 30 countries, and we reach almost 16,000 BPM practitioners. If you're not a member, I would urge you to go to our website and check it out and see if joining with us is something that you would like to do. Again, at this point, I'd like to welcome you all and thank you for joining us today. I'd like to introduce Dr. Matthias Kirchmer. He has a bachelor's degree in engineering, a master's of science in economics, and a doctorate degree in information systems. Matthias has spent 8 years as the managing director and global lead of BPM for Accenture. Before that, he spent 17 years with IDS Share in various roles, including CEO of the Americas and Japan. Dr. Kirchmer has also been, or is now I should say, the managing director and co-CEO of BPM-D, a company that partners with its clients to establish and apply the BPM-D principles for systematic strategy execution. Dr. Kirchmer has kept his links to academia open, and for 16 years he's been affiliated faculty at the University of Pennsylvania with his own lecture-driven business process management. He's also been a regular guest lecturer at other universities, both in the U.S. and abroad. He's the author of 6 books about BPM-related topics and over 110 papers and articles. If you, a couple notes on just housekeeping. At the end of the session, we'll open the discussion up to questions. As we go through the discussion, however, please send in questions, and we'll build those to the end of the session, and then Dr. Kirchmer will address them. We typically go over just a little bit when we answer questions because we want to give as many people an opportunity to ask the questions that they have and receive answers as we possibly can. At this point in time, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Kirchmer and turn the session over to him. Dr. Kirchmer?
Okay. Thank you very much, Dan, for that warm welcome, and good afternoon, everybody. For the next 40-45 minutes, we will talk about strategy execution in a digital world and the role business process management and the BPM discipline plays in that context. I've structured here the presentation into 4 parts. We'll start talking about value and definition of the BPM discipline, and that is specifically in the context of the digital world we are living in. We will then discuss what I call the process of process management, so the way to bring that BPM discipline alive. After that, we will look at a couple of case studies and then finish with a brief summary of some of the lessons learned. If we look in today's businesses and today's organizations, there's almost none out there that has not one or even several digital initiatives on the way. Everybody thinks about how to convert here the physical world into digital information. We don't handle checks anymore, but digital images. We don't sell CDs, but MP3 files. We don't have here paper tickets, but e-tickets. So there's a big movement of creating information and information that replaces digital objects. However, that's pure digitization of objects does not bring any, or at least not much value. And you can see that it's very simple day-to-day examples. Look, for example, at an e-paper. So you move from the physical paper newspaper to an e-paper in your iPad or Kindle or whatever device you use. If you just read that newspaper the same way you use your physical paper, not much changes. It's a bit smaller, but therefore a bit heavier, but that's it. However, when you then start using the power of that digitization, so starting searching for related articles, storing articles for later research, sharing them with friends, commenting, suddenly you get more and more value out of it. And that means you really move to the next level, and that's what digitalization is about. And that's why if you do some here literature research, you will find that there is a broader and broader consensus on defining digitalization as the integration of physical products and services, people, processes, and all that happening using the Internet of Things, or many people refer to it as the Internet of everything. And only if you bring all those components together, then that digitalization brings a real business value, enables new and very exciting business models that organizations currently work on. Having said that, and now looking at what's going on in various companies, then we normally see that they have a pretty solid management discipline around their products and services. They have product managers, product marketing, so that's well under control. Also for people management, normally companies have human resources departments in place. The Internet and its opportunities is taken care of by an IT department with all the technical discipline behind it. But what very often is missing, that's the management discipline around processes. And processes are, as many of you of course know, absolutely key in really getting that value out of that overall digitalization, and making the overlying strategy really happening. And the lack of systematic discipline around those processes, and with that and systematic execution of the overall business model and the strategy around it, that leads to a situation that many companies really struggle delivering on their strategic goals. And I've included here a slide from Gartner that they used just last week at their Business Process Management Summit. And they basically stated that only 13% of businesses really deliver on their strategic targets on a yearly basis. So 87% of businesses miss their strategic goals. And that is exactly the point where the discipline of business process management can make a big difference. And it makes a difference if you really look at the big picture and you define BPM as the management discipline that moves strategy into people and technology-based execution, and does that fast and at a low risk. So at its core, business process management as a discipline is all about systematic strategy execution. And that positioning is very, very key, and that is the reason why so many companies look at the moment for more structure around their process management, and they look for ways of really establishing and running such a management discipline. And the reasons why BPM as a management discipline is so crucial for strategy execution is based on the value that BPM really delivers. And we did a couple of years ago study with 96 companies that are really successful with business process management, and asked them why they feel that is such an important discipline in their organization. And basically all of them mentioned that the transparency that business process management brings, the visibility in into the business, that is a huge value. Without that, it's not possible to take fast and well-informed decisions as that is necessary in a fast digital world that we are living in. But even more importantly, that transparency helps you to achieve other goals that in traditional management environments contradict each other, like quality and efficiency. You can, for example, in the call center process of a telecommunication company, identify where are the steps that are really relevant for the client and where clients are ready to pay some money for, and where are steps that are necessary but more of an administrative nature, and you would address the improvement of those steps under pure efficiency aspects, make them faster and cheaper, and at the end to deliver a process that shows highest quality, where it really matters, and that is as efficient as possible in the other areas. And BPM allows you to combine both, or agility and compliance, standardization and compliance. Nowadays, of course, everybody talks about the agile organization, and everybody wants to be as agile as possible. But if you look at the reality in a company, there are not many processes that really need to be agile. There are many that just need to follow some legal requirements, some company standards, and again, BPM helps you to figure out where you need to make sure that you bring the right agility to the table, and where you just standardize based on compliance and other requirements. Transparency helps you to integrate with your market partners. You can explain your suppliers how you work so that it's easier to collaborate, and you help people understand how they fit into the big picture, so that they can take decisions in the sense that it helps the outcomes of value for a client at the end of an overall end-to-end process. And last not least, that transparency helps you to figure out where innovation, where process innovation really makes sense, and company only competes with about 15 to 20% of their processes. And there you may want to consider very innovative approaches that really set you apart. But all the other 80+% of commodity processes that may never pay off. So you would be very careful launching any innovation or sophisticated optimization initiatives there. Also, you may have in your organization many areas where you are already very good, where you have excellent practices in place, and you want to conserve them. And again, transparency helps you to identify where you innovate, where you conserve, and where you need to go away in the middle of both. So the values that BPM delivers are a great basis to organize and drive your overall strategy execution and to reach your strategic goals. And at that point, I'm often asked, okay, that sounds now good, but how do we make that happen? And that's exactly the question that leads us now to the process of process management. Because if you look at other management disciplines like finance, like IT, like human resources, then how do you bring them into an organization? How do you establish human resources? Well, you do it by rolling out the appropriate processes, your payroll process, your hiring process, your promotion process, and so on. And for business process management, as a management discipline, it's exactly the same. You also bring the right processes in place. And those processes have basically only to address three key activities. They need to make sure that we focus on the right things, that we really target value. They need to help us to improve, and they need to make sure that we sustain those improvements. And by the way, the reason why so many organizations still struggle with here BPM and the value it delivers, that is because they just concentrate on the improve part. They have here their Six Sigma black belts in place. They throw in automation engines and improve, but they don't really know if they address the right processes. Are we really looking after the 15-20% that are high impact and that really matter? And they often fix something and half a year later it's broken again because they have not taken care about the sustainability of those improvements, and then it also doesn't bring a lot of value. So it's very key that our process of process management addresses all those three areas. And in order to do that, we have developed, and that is reflecting well over the experience out of well over 200 process management initiatives in organization, and basically structured all the activities that you may put in place to achieve that focus, improve, and sustain. And structured in a way that you see on the left-hand side of that process framework, all the sub-processes that are more issue and project related. That means that identify the focus, the high impact, low maturity processes, that fix those processes through the appropriate improvement project and keep them on track through the BPM operation. On the right-hand side, you see the processes that are more sustainability related, call them more assets focused processes that make sure that we have the right visibility, so that we set up and can set up the appropriate processes, that we have the right color structure around our processes with our process and data governance, and that we have, of course, improvement approaches, people enablement techniques, and the appropriate tools and technologies in place. And in the upper part of that matrix, that are all more planning related processes, and in the lower part, more execution related. And look at that picture. You have all those processes in place, and you have a full-blown BPM discipline in place that really prepares your organization to be successful in a digital environment, that prepares for a systematic strategy execution and makes it happen. However, I have to stress, I've not seen one company having all that at 100% in place. And I go a step further. You don't need to have all of that in place, depending on the situation you are in and depending on the goals and strategies you have in place. You would use that as a reference structure and basically configure it appropriately. So select those sub-processes that are really relevant for your specific organization. Of course, like with every process, it's one thing to define here the process control logic, but then you need the people around it to execute it. So you need to identify the relevant roles around it, and that's also something we checked in several research initiatives, and we found that organizations have well over 50 different BPM-related roles in place. We structured those in some groups that you see on the current slide, and on a high level can say that every successful BPM discipline, every successful BPM organization has on one hand core roles in place, and I often refer to those as the roles where people basically make their living out of BPM. These are often members of a competency center or the core organizational units around processes and process management that basically provides those services to the organization. But for them to be successful and to realize their full potential, they need extended roles in place that are part of the business. Process owners, sponsors, enabling roles like process stewards. So that you have people who are really looking after each end-to-end process, who have the standing in the organization, that they can take the right decision, and who are compensated for that. And those extended roles, those are basically the clients for all those people in the core roles. So if you want to roll out such a process of process management, it's not enough to define the process logic. You need the appropriate roles and responsibilities in place, and you need, of course, the appropriate information for those people in place. So you basically handle the process of process management just as any other business process. That is the power of that approach. As soon as you define your process of process management as a business process by itself, then you can apply everything you know about process management to BPM itself, and with that develop in a structured way that BPM discipline. And we have, of course, also done that way and detailed that description of the process of process management till on the process side till a level 4 of details. So we have behind the framework that we have seen a lot of very detailed processes that basically show how to execute different parts of the process management, how you identify your high impact, low maturity processes, how you identify your BPM capability gaps, how you then define a project that deliver both an immediate business impact while building here new BPM capabilities and closing those gaps. So for all those areas, you can define very detailed processes that show how that works, and that's part of our BPM-D reference models, and you see here a little excerpt of that. What is really very key, and maybe the most important lessons learned, is that with all those assets available, there is a big risk that people get a bit lost in all the BPM-related activities, and they forget to create really value for the organization. And that's why the recommendation that I mentioned before, to always combine the building of BPM capabilities with the delivery of very, very concrete business value, with the fixing of issues that really hurt the organization. That is the absolute key for success. You always deliver immediate value, and by doing that, you build step by step your BPM discipline by putting one building block after the other of your process of process management in place. And you do that in a way that you develop a capability and you apply it right away. And how that could look like, we will see now in a couple of case examples. First one is a company in the consumer goods food industry, and when I talked the first time with the CEO over a year ago, told me, well, we are a bit in a difficult situation. We have been concentrating for several years on a very narrow market segment, but there we were able to really get basically every price we wanted. So we could enable a very profitable growth just by adjusting our price if our cost went up. However, now here the competition has discovered that market segment, so we get under pressure, and that's why in the management team we have decided to adjust our strategy and basically to lower our prices in our core segment and to go with a couple of new products into two different market segments. And everybody agreed on that, but when we then saw that we lose our profitability if we reduce the price, I clearly requested, well, we need to reduce cost appropriately. But when I then talked with my leadership team, well, the head of production said, okay, I agree with that, but you know, production is already very lean. We have the newest production equipment, almost no people, so there is nothing we can really do to save additional cost. And head of supply chain said, yeah, and we are also staffed at the limits. We are already very, very lean. I don't think we can reduce a lot of cost here, but I think in our logistics department there may be some opportunities. I've noticed that the trucks are often not full, so we waste a lot of money there. But then logistics said, okay, there may be some challenges with our transportation planning, but The reason, therefore, is that we don't get really good forecasts from our sales. It's always wrong, so the issue seems to be really in sales. And like that, every top manager moved the ball to the next area, and the CEO didn't really know what to do. So he said, okay, I would like you to help me with two things. On one hand, we have the very concrete and urgent issue, we need to reduce costs. And on the other hand, I want to move out of the situation we are in now. I want to have a cross-functional structure and a cross-functional management, so that next time when we have such a strategy change or adjustment, I have the people in place who can make that happen quickly and efficiently. So we started there looking at their current process management capabilities, and it's became clear, of course, that they have some basics in place, but that there are capability gaps basically in all areas. And a good point then to start with is, of course, to have a look here at the process framework, and we came to the conclusion based on the task we have that here some of those sub-processes we really need to put in place. Others can be implemented later or in a light mode, and various ones we may not currently need. So we had already a first idea of what kind of discipline we need to develop. Then a good point to start and to bring here the development of the discipline and the creation of immediate value together is, for example, through here the process strategy. And one of the first steps there is to operationalize the overall business strategy, and to see that profitable growth, of course, means we have either to increase revenue or to reduce costs. And in order to increase revenue, we need to continue to work on our quality, deliver higher quality, or we need to be more innovative. In order to reduce costs, we need here to improve our performance. Or we have to make sure that on the safety side we exclude all kinds of incidents. And then you can break that down even a level more concrete. What does it mean, innovation? That could mean new products. That could mean a new market segment. So there are a whole lot of different areas to address. And like that, you have then very, very concrete value drivers, things that you have to get right in order to make your current strategy happen. And the red ones are then the value drivers. We came together with the management team to the conclusion these are the areas we really need to get right quickly, and we really need to focus on to be successful. Then you can link those value drivers to the processes using something that is often referred to as a process impact assessment matrix, where you see on the top part of the matrix the value drivers that are weighted to show the importance, the relative importance of them. And on the left-hand side, you see the level 3 processes, and then you can define for each process what's the impact on each value driver. Is it not there, then it's a 0. Is it low, then it's a 3. Is it medium, then it's a 6. Is it high, then it's a 9. And then you can calculate the weighted total impact of a process, and like that you can identify your high impact processes, so the areas that are most important to get right in order to make your strategy really happen. And you then have a high-level one-page picture of your company in a end-to-end process format, you can then pretty quickly pick out where are the areas where you get most bang for the buck if you fix those. However, I have also to stress it's in many cases not sufficient just to fix the high impact processes, because if in the other commodity areas you are much worse than the industry average, you also have a problem, and you also need to address that to really reach your overall goals. But you address those issues in a different way. Your high impact processes, you want to really get the best results possible, and that means you have sophisticated optimization, innovation approaches. You have there the best targets for your digitalization initiatives, so you really invest on making those processes as good as possible. Whereas in the commodity area, you do not want to reach the best level possible, because that will not pay off. You just make sure that you reach the industry average best by copying here common practices for those specific processes. And the way then you analyze and you improve those processes is very different. Here in a high impact process area, you really go step by step through it and make sure that you understand what kind of issues pop up where, and then you come up with a well thought through here innovative solution where you leverage here the opportunities of digital technologies where possible, where you may be very innovative to be really better than your competition. So you invest quite a bit of time, effort, and we said budget to get those processes right. For the commodity processes, you go more a way of identifying, well, what are the overall issues? Why are we not on industry average? And one example in that case here was that they had an ERP system in place, but nobody was really trained sufficiently, so people didn't trust that system, and that led to a situation that everybody tried control and check what that system does, and that led to double and triple work, and with that to very high cost and high cycle time. So if you then discover such patterns, you can pretty quickly come up with appropriate solutions just by following here standard ways, for example, of supporting those processes through that ERP software, and you organize your improvement workshops very differently. Instead of analyzing exactly what you do today and finding the best possible solution, you start with the common industry solution. Companies like SAP, they provide, for example, reference models, how CPG company classically works in a specific area, and you use that as a starting point. And the workshop is about making that industry average happen. And that is, of course, something that goes much, much faster than the approach we have chosen for our high-impact processes, but it's sufficient for our commodity areas. And once you have then identified in detail what you want to do, you normally define here manageable work packages that make people understand what they do, why they do it, and the expected timing. And you normally have such work packages on one hand for the solution of real business issues so that you achieve immediate business value. And you have also such enabling working packages that make sure that you put the appropriate components of your BPM discipline in place. For example, the right governance around that process, the detailed process models in the area that you have worked on, and so on. So that at the end, you fix the business issue and you establish the BPM discipline as it's required in that specific context. And in that specific case, it was possible in here 8-9 months to achieve really tangible effects on both sides. That's a brief example. I will not go again through all the details here from a major insurance company, a very different starting situation. I had the opportunity to talk with one of their board members and said, you know, we have for the last 4 years such a huge business process management initiative in place. We have not spent 10, but hundreds of millions of dollars for people, for technologies and all that. But if I look at our books, I don't see any changes at all. We have not more revenue, we have not less cost, so everything just stays as it is. So the investment doesn't seem to pay off. Can you help us figuring out what's going on? And analysis, and I do not want to now go through all the details, but showed very clearly that the focus of what they called business process management was on this tools and technology area that we see here on that slide. That means they work with several big vendors and basically bought all their technologies, and every business unit has made clear that his or her business unit is the most important, so they came to the conclusion everything is very important, and started 4 years ago getting all possible technology in-house and trying to fix everything at once, with the effect that everything got very complex, everything got very slow. And in spite of the fact that all people were working very hard, they just could not deliver in that time frame any results that really had a business impact into the different business units. And to make it even worse, they didn't even have a clear idea what the business impacts in the different units should be, how they want to measure it, and also where to put priorities on. So in order to straighten that out, we could go a similar way as we have described that before, and that okay, instead of now trying to do everything at once and delivering everything at once, we need to see where are the most important areas that we need to improve, and these are then the work packages on the foundation. So from 7 till 11, these are areas where we really have high impact processes that need to get fixed, and where we can make a difference for the organization. And in order to make that happen, we only need a subset of the technology that we have in place, but to know what subset it is and to bring it in place in a way that really works, we need some enabling capabilities in place, and that led to work packages 1 to 6, to the enabling work packages, and also in that case we are making great progress. And that again shows if you want to put such a process of process management in place, act like with any other management discipline. Like if you look at human resources, you would also not define every little detail and then 2 years later start applying it to your hiring or promotion process or whatever. But you evaluate where the biggest need is, and then you develop a capability, and while developing it, you right away apply it. And here in business process management, exactly the same. You identify where your high impact, low maturity areas are so that you can set the right priorities, and you develop your process of process management in the context of those areas. And that basically leads here to my last slide, our lessons learned. I think they are all pretty straightforward, and I have commented on most of them. It's of course very key to have a top management support if you want to roll out BPM as a management discipline in either the entire organization or in one business unit. You need, of course, the sponsorship and support of the top manager. It's very key to deliver quick business benefits and not take first a year to develop capabilities. Nobody will give you that time, and that means you need clear priorities, and you don't have to boil the ocean. That is something that I see more and more. It's absolutely key to figure out where to start and to have a very clear focus so that you can show quickly, okay, that is not something that costs just money, but this is a discipline that moves our organization forward. All the other points, you can check that. I assume you get a copy of those slides and can read through the points. They are pretty self-explaining. If you have more questions, of course, feel free to contact myself. Here's the email address, or to check out our BPM-D webpage. You can download a whole lot of white papers and articles for free, of course, and encourage you doing that. There's a very new white paper around the process of process management, so covering at least some of the aspects that we just discussed. So feel free to download that and use that. And with that, I thank you for your attention, and I open for questions. Hello, Dan? Larry? Hello?
Guys?
Yes?
We lost Dan there. So it looks like we have one question for you at the moment. It says, what have you seen is the most common mistake or failure implementing a BPM in a company?
That is an interesting question. And to be honest, I don't think there's one mistake that everybody who fails does. I've seen many different approaches to fail. If I generalize a bit, I think the biggest issue that I've seen in the past is that BPM practitioners are too method and tool focused and not outcome focused. And if you go here to your top management and explain why you request the budget and what you want to do, and you start explaining how a repository works or what the BPMN modeling language is, then after not even a minute, you have lost everybody, and you will never get the right support. But if you start such a conversation talking about the outcomes, about here agility, compliance, efficiency, quality, and so on, then you really get the attention of top management. If you talk about here new business models through digitalization, in order to make that happen, you need a process discipline in place. These are topics top management is interested in, and that link of everything you do to value, that is absolutely key. If I look at it from a top perspective, and then if you go a level deeper, that lack of the link of activities to value and business outcomes leads to many different issues, like if a company is proud to have 600 process models in their repository, but well, nobody looks at them, and you have a big problem, because it's not a real asset. Only if you have the right usage scenarios in place, explain people how they get value out of it, and get the acceptance in the organization, then you get value. If you don't do that link to value, it does not work, and it will not be successful. And I could bring many areas. If I look here at our framework, the areas that are often underdeveloped is everything around the prioritization. Many companies don't know their high impact, low maturity processes, so to make the value case is very difficult. There's often a lack of process and data governance, and it's a big issue, and the whole enterprise and process architecture topic is too method and tool focused and not outcome focused enough. These are maybe the three areas that I see on an operational level most often.
Hello,
Okay.
this is Dan. I'm back in, Larry. Hopefully I won't be lost again here. Did you just answer Anna's question? Is that where we're at?
I did Anna's question. Yes, we did.
Okay. We have a question from Natalie, and that is, how do you train the company to follow processes?
That's another interesting question, and I would say first it may be too much to start right away, say, oh, I want to train the entire company. But I would take a step-by-step approach and not boil the ocean here. And again, it leads back to setting the right priorities. I would select here one or several of our high-impact, low-maturity processes, and develop a training and change management approach for those processes, very targeted. So with a good end-to-end process model in place, so that people understand how they fit into the end-to-end process, with a clear definition of the outcome of value for the client, so that people understand if they have to take a decision, what kind of effect that will have. Then it's not enough to explain the process itself. People need to understand the governance, the process and data governance around that process. People need to understand where they can get help if they have questions around the process. So I would do a very thorough job around this one or two high-impact processes, and once that is running, roll it out maybe to 5, 6 more high-impact areas, and start creating coming from a push into a pull mode, because if people then see, oh, there is an approach that works and brings value, then suddenly a very positive dynamic develops, and then you can take larger and larger steps and roll that process thinking out into the entire organization. In parallel, you may want to put in place some executive training sessions, short, 2 or 4 hours, so that top management gets here that idea about here cross-functional work and its importance for strategy execution, operations, because if they don't understand it, they will not drive it, and then you have also an issue on an operational level, but that is something, again, you have to decide in the context of your specific organization.
Okay, Natalie has a follow-up question to that, and that's how do you get the company to create efficient processes?
Oh, that's a great question, and I would answer it in 2 steps. First, it's not the company who creates efficient processes, of course, the different people. And in order, come to the second part, in order to help those people create the right processes, I think it's already important that efficiency is just one aspect. So cost, time, resource efficiency is one aspect. You may have processes where efficiency is not the most important, where you focus more on quality, or where it's much more important to be very flexible, very agile, where it's much more important to be innovative and differentiate. So you need, people need to understand what the goals of the specific process are, and those goals are, of course, driven by the overall strategy. And once that is clear, then and people know exactly where they want to go, then normally they also find a way to do that, because then they can apply all these available methods and tools. And the issues that we often see is not that the available approaches don't work, but that people have not spent enough time and thinking about where they really want to go and what they really want to achieve.
Okay, and from, from Giles Bellinger, what is the difference between value stream mapping and the business improvement method shown here today?
I can say that there is, of course, a lot of similarities between various methods that are around. What is here the most important point? That the entrance point is the operationalization of the strategy through a value driver tree, and that you then use that value driver tree to identify your high impact processes. And due to the short time, I didn't comment enough on how you develop both the value driver tree and the process impact assessment matrix here, with the right stakeholder interaction, starting with one-on-one meetings, moving to workshop, back to one-on-one meetings. So you use those techniques to operationalize your strategy and link it to a process to basically drive here the consensus into your top management, and with that come up with a clear direction about the desired execution of your strategy. So that's that very close link between your overall business strategy and your resulting process work. That is here the key aspect of that approach.
Okay, our next question is from Jeffrey Swanell, and that is, this looks a bit complex. How would you suggest it be used in a smaller organization?
Well, that's a great question, and I can say we have used that approach in very big organizations, but also in very, very small ones, well under 1,000 employees. And you can very much simplify the approach. For example, a small company, you have less key stakeholders, and they are most of the cases more aligned because in their day-to-day work they work closer together. So in order to develop such a value tree, instead of having 2 or 3 weeks of workshops, you may have 1 day, and then that is done. Or in order to develop those process models and apply the improvement methods, you may have in big organizations to talk to 200 people. In a small one, you may only need to talk to 20. So you can achieve a similar result in a much less effort. However, I also have to say that if you look at issues companies have and requirements they have, they are normally not that much simpler in small than in big organizations. It's only that in smaller organizations, you can make them happen in a much more timely and much more cost-efficient way.
Okay, and the next question is by Anton Gasp. Now I'm going to kill this. Gasp. We'll just leave it at Anton. Do people tend to become less creative and productive when they start to follow process in their daily work?
That's a real great question. That is something that is often criticized with business process management, that it kills creativity. And I can tell you just the contrary is the case. With business process management, you identify where you want to have the creativity and where you give people the freedom to be creative, and you also identify the areas where you don't want to have that creativity, and there you define every process step by step so that you avoid any issues. For example, when it comes here to the interaction of your salespeople with clients, you want to give them a certain degree of freedom to do that. But when it comes here to your accounting department and the way how they organize their accounts receivables, you do not want to have people to be too creative, but they just have to follow their legal requirements. And the strength of BPM is that it gives you the transparency to really identify where you want to have that creativity and where you intentionally do not want to have it. And to add one more point, you know, when I came from Germany to the US about 20 years ago, I tried to convince some of the pharmaceutical firms, they should they should introduce process management into their R&D organization to be more efficient and more effective. And there was no chance to get that. There was always the argument, no, there we need to be creative and innovative, and BPM or kills all of that. We cannot do it. And that has only changed with the time that many patents run out, and there were not enough new products. And when those R&D organizations got opened up a bit, it turned out that 60-70% of the work is pure transactional work. Here, clinical trials and all kinds of stuff that you could purely optimize under efficiency criteria, and where companies lost a lot of time and money by not organizing that properly. And there are only a few areas where you really need that creative freedom and all that. And the discipline of business process management helps you to combine both.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the list of questions that we have at this point. If there are any others, please send them in right now, and we can address them. Giving someone a chance to do that, I'll make a couple announcements. The first one is that today's session, like all of the ABPMP webinars, will be put on the ABPMP website, so it'll be available to members in a couple of days. If people would like a copy of their slides, a copy of the slides today, I should say, please send Dr. Kirchmer a note, and I'm sure he'll be happy to share things with you. If there are any additional questions, I'm sure Dr. Kirchmer will be happy to answer them. If you send them to him directly, or if you send them to us at ABPMP, we'll be sure to get them over to him. I haven't seen any other questions come in. So at this point, I would like to thank Dr. Kirchmer for his time today in a great session, very informative. And I'd like to thank everyone who joined us today for joining us. With that,